Hey, so I've felt with feelings of inadequacy since I was very, very young. When I was younger, most of the time I compensated by becoming a perfectionist. Relied on that image of perfection to determine my value. So I went to college and I became a teacher. I did genuinely love teaching. And during my second year of teaching, I became pregnant and I had my baby towards the end of that second year. So then my third year comes around, and as the end of my third year of teaching approached, I knew that I would have to change paths. I knew that that would be my last year of teaching for now, that I would be a stay-at-home mother so that my husband could actually work. As that deadline approached, when I would need to switch from being a teacher and a mom to being a mom, it scared me a bit. Okay, that's a lie. It scared me a whole crap ton of a lot. Because I knew what I was doing as a teacher. I knew what I was doing, I was comfortable with it, the kids were kids, but I could cope with them. I knew what I was doing in the classroom, and there was structure, and there were hours, and there was time for everything, and now we have another crinkle bottle. Thanks, puppies. There you go. So that label, mom, had technically applied to me before the temporary end of my teaching career. However, once I was finished teaching, I could no longer label myself as teacher in the same sense that I could before. I couldn't be a school teacher label. I had to take off the teacher label and leave on only the mom label, and that felt so vulnerable. I felt so naked, and I felt so inadequate. I felt so inadequate only being a mom. Whew. That was definitely the hardest transition I've ever had to go through in my life. So this transition I had from whatever else and mom transitioned to only just mom. And I did not feel like I lived up to that title. I probably still feel like I don't live up to that title many times. But I'm about to right now. I'll be right back. Where are we going, buddy? Now, I want you to be aware that during this transition time, just like during my perfection era, I didn't understand what was happening, and it took me a long time to realize what my issue was. I knew I had an issue because suddenly everything was my husband's fault. A little bit of blame happening there, a little bit. So I knew that something was wrong and that it was wrong with me, but I couldn't figure out what it was. So then I attended a few seminars, and the most recent one I attended was Break Free Intensive with Ann Washburn. She's with 3 Key Elements. So I went to that conference, and I was sitting down before the conference started, and I was writing in my little notebook thing, and I was writing down what I felt like my issue was, what I felt like was causing all the tension in our home, and I had already figured out that it revolved around the concept of being not enough. But that wasn't really right either, because I felt like I was enough. I was totally enough as a teacher. I was totally enough as a friend. I was totally enough in many, many, many of the roles that I played. I feel like I am enough for the most part. And then I realized, I was like, oh wait, for the most part. Boom. An image of my son popped into my mind. And I was like, oh. It was in the idea of only being a mother and not being enough. I didn't know anything about being a mom. Nothing. I saw what my mom did, and she never felt particularly successful as a mother. So I kind of felt like I was doomed to also feel unsuccessful as a mother. I didn't want to feel unsuccessful. I didn't want to feel like I wasn't enough. I didn't want that doubt and that nagging that was constantly eating at me, because it was eating inside of my soul. It just, like, it hurt. That feeling of inadequacy, that feeling of I'm not enough, was so damaging, not only to me, but to my husband, to my son, to my relationships with other people. It turned me into someone who's not me. It turned me into a different person entirely. Someone who was angry, or who was nitpicky, or who criticized other people. And I didn't want to be that person anymore. I was tired of it. So I had to relabel myself. All the other labels had been stripped away. All I had left was mom, and I felt like I didn't even just have a mom label. I had an inadequate label. I'm not enough. I'm inadequate. Not mom enough. That was the label that I had put on myself. Ooh. I realized at this conference that I went to with Ann Washburn, I realized that this label was the issue. It wasn't that I was actually inadequate as a mother, or that I was actually not enough. It was that I had labeled myself as a doomed to be inadequate forever mother. And that was the label and the image that I had created in my mind, that I would never be enough for my children, that no mother could ever be enough for her children. What a world without hope. What a shame that I lived so much of my life believing that mothers could never be enough. And man, when I realized that that was what I had been facing, I was kind of mad at myself, to be honest, because I've always known that other moms were enough. I've always known that you are enough. I've always known that. How could I not transfer that onto myself? The idea that this label of not mom enough had to change was new and unheard of. Labels don't change. People don't change. What are you talking about? So I did some genuine attempts at relabeling myself. So what I have now done, because it's real, this is what I physically did. I took this label and I said, you know what? I am mom enough. I am mom enough. And even just those words changed how I felt. But I knew I wouldn't feel that change, that label change in my heart, until I recognized ways in which I was enough. And that is literally why I started this channel, to help me remember that I am enough. I post those little teeny daily blurps to remind myself that I am enough. That little things each day prove to me that I am mom enough. And I don't want to be alone in this realization. I'm not the only mom on the planet that's mom enough. In fact, all of you, every single mother in this world is mom enough. And I really want to help you all realize that. So with that being said, I have a challenge for you. I want you to take off that label you've been placing on yourself. I'm not sporty enough to be the mom of a soccer player. My house isn't clean enough to be a good mom. My kids don't have nice enough clothes to label me as enough of a mom. Stop those thoughts, like just stop them for a second, like just hit the pause button at least, and take that label, lift, and place it down. just to feel what that's like not to have that label on you. Create a new label. A mom enough label. Write that on your heart. I am mom enough, because you are mom enough. You are mom enough for all of your children and all of the children around you. You are mom enough. So clear that off your chest. Put on the mom enough stamp of approval. I don't know what you want to call it, but put that on you and be like, I am enough. I accept who I am as a mother, and you can too. It's okay. I am a mom, and I am enough. I am a mom, and I am enough. I am a mom, and I am enough. I just really want to thank you. I want to thank you for being the mother that you are. I want to thank you for watching this video, for identifying with me in my overcoming inadequacy journey. I would love it if you would share this message. I would love it if you would like the video, subscribe to the channel, post on the Facebook page, share it with your friends. I would love it if you would do that. But even if you don't, you're still mom enough. And I'm going to keep making these videos to remind myself and anyone who's listening that we are mom enough. Thanks guys, see you later.